What's going on? Jake here with Uncommon EDC, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Kansept Fenrir. This is a Greg Schob design available in this configuration with the micarta and titanium handles for $188. They do offer it in a bunch of other configurations as well. Some cost a little bit more, some a little bit less, but for the most part they're going to be in that ballpark, with the exception of the budget version that they released under their sister company Tenable. And so if you're not super particular about the materials, the Tenable version may be a great option to save you probably $120 plus. I think these ones are all around $70 or so. So pretty significant savings, and aesthetically you can see they look nearly identical. You are losing the titanium and the S35VN in exchange for some less expensive materials, and that's both on the handle, our blade, as well as our pocket clip. You can see we get a more traditional folded steel pocket clip on the Tenable version. Now, design-wise, they're aesthetically the same, but they have a couple different features, so that's going to come down to preference. The Tenable has a button lock versus a liner lock on the Kansept version, and a less deployment method, so we're losing out on our front flipper on the Tenable version in exchange for the thumb stud, where the Kansept version has both a thumb stud and a front flipper, so it's a little bit more fidget friendly, and again, a step up in materials. But I'll leave a link to both of them down in the description of the video in case you're fine with those trade-offs and you want to save a little bit of money. I will do a separate video on the Tenable Fenrir in the future though, so we're going to be focused on the Kansept version of this knife in this video. So in terms of the design itself, aesthetically, I love the look of it. Super aggressive look. I think a big part of that's obviously that harpoon blade shape. I always think those look super aggressive, but I really like the blade shape. So great look to it overall, and I think really fitting of the Fenrir name. That also feels kind of a aggressive name to me and just kind of fits with the design of the knife really well. Again, a Greg Schob design. You can see his maker's mark, which is a great looking maker's mark right here on the back side of the blade. Has a, I guess, skull. I don't know if it's like a raven or a vulture skull, but either way, really cool maker's mark. Now, in terms of the sizing, this one's about 7.875 inches overall, so definitely leaning towards the larger size knife, and that gives us a 4.5 inch handle. So if you place your index finger into our groove, that gives us access to the liner lock, full 4-finger grip, and it's a pretty generous gripping size. It feels a little bit tight for a 4.5 finger grip, but I have room to spread out. Sometimes if I spread out too far, my pinky will land on this corner here, which you feel a little bit. But I'm really not utilizing this grip at all, because you can see we have this oversized finger choil here that allows us to creep right behind the edge of that blade and gives us a great landing spot for our thumb. This just feels super natural thanks to that harpoon blade shape and really locks in your grip. Great ergos in this positioning, and it feels ultra secure as well, even though the jimping here isn't really doing anything. This jimping is effectively for our front flipper because it's in line with the handle. It doesn't really grab onto your thumb at all when the blade is deployed. And so when you get into that full kind of pinched grip up here, it does lock in and give you that ultra secure grip. No hot spots. Great solid ergos on this one. Feels really great in my hand. Now, if I'm projecting a little bit, I do feel like it kind of forces your grip into a specific position when you put your finger in the finger choil. That means your middle finger is going to be landing in this groove, and this groove is a little bit thin. So for my hands, it fits pretty natural, but it's kind of a tight fit for my middle finger, where it feels like if my middle finger were a little bit thicker, it would be sitting up on this corner here as well, creating a little bit of a hot spot. Or I'm not sure, again, I'm projecting because my finger does fit in there pretty well, but I think if that were a more seamless transition into the rest of the handle, a little bit more smooth, and you knock back that corner, it could be a little bit more comfortable for larger hands. But again, feels pretty good in my hand, so can't complain too much there. Now, in terms of our blade, 3.37 inch 375 inch blade, beautiful harpoon blade shape on here. We got a flat grind, really nice oversized swedge that extends the entire length of the spine until we hit that drop down, and then a nice flat here for our Kansept logo, our thumb stud, which tucks nicely into the handle. S35VN on this Kansept version. Now that's a big reason you're paying a lot more for this version over the Tenable version, which has 14C 28N. Of course, you're trading off that pocket clip and the titanium in our handle as well. So not the only trade-off, but one of the big trade-offs is going to come down to that blade steel. Really love the blade shape on this one. In terms of the weight, we're looking at about 4.2 ounces, which is a little bit on the heavy side for its sizing. It doesn't feel ultra heavy, and it feels very balanced as well, especially with your finger in the finger choil. Has a really balanced feel to it where it's not really off balance at all. Feels great in the pocket, so not too concerned about that 4.22 ounces. Now, in terms of the action, it's on bearing, so ultra smooth. We have plenty of access to our liner lock, which is actually more of a frame lock. If you take a look, it is part of our frame, but because of the Micarta overlay here, it's blocking that, so you can't put your fingers on that and gum up the action or anything like that, so you don't have to worry about it like you typically would with a frame lock. But it is part of our frame. We don't have a separate liner for the liner lock or an inset liner lock where it's screwed into the frame. And so more traditionally a frame lock, but either way you have plenty of access. Nice lockup on there, drops down to the nail, shake it the rest of the way closed. Super smooth thanks to those bearings. Now in terms of deployment, I mentioned we have a couple different options. So our thumb stud option, really nice snappy action here, and because of the kind of heavier detent, you get a really solid snap and it travels very quickly, so really smooth and a lot of fun to fidget with. We also have that front flipper, which gives us an easy front flip on here. I'm not always the greatest with front flippers, but it works really well, especially with like a frame lock. Again, another reason I'm kind of grateful for the Micarta here is because when I'm trying to find the positioning for that front flipper, sometimes I'm putting pressure on the lock, but with a liner lock, don't really have to worry about that, and super smooth and snappy. Now the only deployment method that doesn't really work great for me is the middle finger flick, and that's typically my favorite way to open it. You can see I got it there, but I'd say it's probably like a 30% thing. The detent's a little bit on the heavy side, so there you go, I missed it there and got it again this third time. And so the detent's a little bit on the heavy side, so if you don't get the angle exactly right, it can be a little bit hard to middle finger flick. And so a lot of that can come down to the finger positioning, and I could also just adjust it to make it a little bit looser, but I really enjoy the detent of the other two deployments, and so I don't really want to mess with it. We also get a lanyard hole in the back, so if you're someone who likes to add lanyards, you get a generous sizing of the lanyard hole, and it's in a good position. It's not going to fold up and get into the path of your blade. So overall, I think a really great looking knife. I'm digging this one quite a bit. And same thing with the tenable. I think I prefer this Kansept version thanks to that liner lock. I don't know if that was the case when I first got it, but do prefer the liner lock a little bit over the button lock. And I've even come to like this front flipper, although aesthetically I hate the look of front flippers like this, but I do enjoy front flipping this one. It's just really easy and smooth to do, so a lot of fun if you're into front flippers as well. Would love to hear your thoughts on this one down in the comments below. As always, I'll leave a link to where you can find this one in the description of the video. And if you enjoyed the video, consider liking, commenting, subscribing, or checking out some of my other content. And I hope you have a great one. Take care.